I am an avid reader. Of course, I read books of theology, but I'm talking now about fiction. I end every day with at least an hour of reading a story, and usually more. Now, some of the stories are just fluff, a way to relax and breathe after a long day. There's nothing wrong with that. But most of the books that I read take me to new places. They immerse me in different cultures, have me read the point of view of someone that I never might meet, new ways to think about the world. Now, most of the books that I read are from the point of view of a person or persons, but sometimes I will pick up a book written from the point of view of an animal, usually a dog. I have to be careful about those kind of books, though, because no matter how good the story is, if the dog dies, I ain't reading it. This past week, I read a story about some people and an octopus. The people story was interesting, but the octopus, the chapters that were written from his point of view, they were compelling. The book is called Remarkably Bright Creatures, and there's a picture of the octopus on the front. So you might think that the title is referring to the octopus, but it does not. Towards the end of the book, Marcellus, the octopus, has this to say about humanity. Humans, for the most part, you are dull and blundering, but occasionally you can be remarkably bright creatures. Occasionally you can be remarkably bright creatures. Today we mark the third Sunday of the Easter season, and during this time we think about what it means to be disciples, to be post-resurrection people in the world today. Now last week I talked about the ways that we nourish people, their bodies. We talked about our feeding ministries, how we help with housing, and other things for those in need. And today, thanks to Marcellus, I've been thinking about God's other creatures and the world that we all inhabit together. The world of earth and plants and creatures of sky and sea, the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat. We have all seen the evidence that the Earth's climate is changing. Now, folks can argue about whether it's human-caused or a natural planetary cycle, but why it happened, it's not really the point. We see the news stories, and we hear about all the many things that have to happen on a global level if we are to survive as a species. It's easy to feel helpless and hopeless in the midst of it all. Now, in some ways, what we can do will either help heal the world or help to exacerbate the situations that we all face. We can ignore the consequences of what we do and buy, or we can recycle, try to drive less, eat more locally. We must, as the saying says, do the next right thing, whenever and wherever we can. Now, last week when I was talking about hunger and homelessness and poverty on the global level, I said that most of us do not have the power to make the global changes necessary to fix those problems. The same thing is true about climate change. You and I have neither the power nor the resources to make the decisions deemed necessary to help the world. But we do have the power to change the natural world that is right around us. And before we do that, we need to deepen our own connection to the world and the earth and its creatures. We need to take the time to notice beauty and growth and life. When was the last time you listened to birdsong? I don't mean just hearing birdsong. I mean sitting and actually listening for a few moments to the cries of the birds. When was the last time you looked closely at a flower or a leaf? When was the last time you enjoyed the wild exuberance of a forsythia bush or the stately pop of red tulips in your garden? When did you last take the time to enjoy the antics of a squirrel? They are smart and funny, and yes, they are rats with very pretty tails, but they are hilarious if you watch them. What about the sweetness of baby bunnies? When did you last take a breath of the morning air and stop and realize that although it's still chilly, we can taste spring? Now, we can't commit ourselves to caring for creation on a large scale without coming to love the earth right where we are. We can gaze up at the magnificence of a tree and think about those who planted it, And then we can decide to plant a tree ourselves for the people in the future to enjoy. We can grab a fistful of earth and feel the potential of what it can grow. We can make a small garden. We can fill a container with petunias. We can plant tomatoes. Is there anything better than a freshly picked tomato? For me, they never make it into the house. The earth can feed our bodies, yes, but the earth can feed our souls. All we have to do is take time to breathe it in. Let go of our daily busyness for just a short time and be. In her book, Aurora Leigh, Elizabeth Barrett Browning wrote the following: "Earth's crammed with heaven, and every common bush afire with God. But only he who sees takes off his shoes. The rest sit around it and pluck blackberries and daub their natural faces unaware." How often do we just sit around and pick blackberries and miss the glories of the world that God gave us to enjoy and to tend? How often do we just bumble around instead of being the remarkably bright creatures that we were created to be? Caring for God's creation is a huge part of our discipleship. It's important for ourselves and also for those who will come after us. Now, in a few minutes, we're going to baptize Lenny Rose, and we're going to welcome her to Christianity. And as she grows, just like all the children we've been baptizing this year, she will reap the results of what we plant. She will feed, she will plant, and wonder and enjoy. She will be yet another caretaker of life and the world and its creatures. She will be helped by us, of course, but more than that, she will help us to see the world anew, bright and hope-filled. Martin Luther was once asked what he would do if he was told the world would end tomorrow. He said that he would plant an apple tree today, a sign of hope for the future, that one day people would admire its blossoms and enjoy its fruit. Earth's crammed with heaven, and every living thing is afire with God. Lord, give us the eyes to see. Amen.